over numbers, first of all. Body count,
Body count?
my body count.
Yeah.
Maid of honor, 4 bridesmaids,
Yeah.
best man, 5 ushers, no ring bearer, no phone.
Exactly. Yes.
170 is the rough guest count.
Yes.
Okay.
We should be from the 150 to 170 anyway.
Have you
Put it on maybe tonight.
looked over
That's
St.
why I
Pat's?
asked.
You've never been in St. Patrick's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually went there a couple of times.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that's why I asked, and you said no Lancaster dinosaurs.
Oh, the bride's dress. Quite sad.
No, I knew.
Eventually, I will want a picture
Thanks, Neil.
or to look at the dress, the bride's dress.
Okay.
Also, the style of the bridesmaid. She gave me no details about what the dress looks like, just what it was. And cranberry can be lots of things, from nearly black to very soft. I have a list here on this interview of all kinds of things you were looking for. Photographer, hairdresser, rental services. I'm not sure if that was in reference to limo service and lodging. Are you looking for recommendations in those areas?
Yeah, I think we found everything we needed, except the only thing we might be lacking is a singer for the church. So I didn't know.
Just covering all my bases.
Yep. Nope.
And she's checked that it's formal to semi-formal. Is her dress full length?
I believe so. Yeah.
You're
It
wearing.
has the train.
Okay. You're wearing cutaways, tails.
No tails.
No tails.
Just notch collar and standard. Yeah. With vest.
With this. Plain or print?
The tux itself.
No, the vest.
The vest. It's relatively plain. It has a design, but you have to be close to it to see it.
Okay. When we talked on the phone, we talked about a whole bunch of interesting things and approaches to this. And I left you with some questions to sort of feel for what you're looking for and ultimately in the reception. So tell me first of all where the emphasis, you think the emphasis should be.
Are you saying from reception or church?
Well, let's start with the beginning. Look at it as a whole package. Is it the weekend as a whole and the guests enjoying a weekend in the mountains?
Yeah, basically. That's the lore out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the emphasis is on the ceremony or on the reception?
Probably on the reception.
That's.
Yeah.
I think that was our conversation
Yeah.
earlier. The ceremony is a necessary part of
Yeah.
it. And certainly is significant, but not necessarily the highlight.
Exactly.
We also talked about the logistics of getting people from here to there. The bride will arrive via a limo,
Yeah.
and you will go back to the hotel via a limo.
Yeah, how's that gonna work? We actually only have one limo.
Which will bring the bride and the bridesmaids
Yes. So
to
they'll-
the church and then take you and the bride back to the hotel.
Yes.
I would assume that would be. Now, how do the bridesmaids get back to the hotel?
Back to the hotel from the reception?
No, from the church.
From the church? Well, they're going. It's going to take me and Lisa from the church to the reception hall. The bridesmaids and ushers, they're actually going in a Winnebago. It's my uncle's Winnebago, so they're being transported like right now.
Just cover all the glitches here. Ceremony is at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Give me sort of a rough itinerary of what's happening beyond the ceremony.
Beyond it, well, the ceremony will take place.
1 hour.
1 hour.
Right.
We're having a receiving line outside the church. can't get up to the reception hall till, they can't start taking the chairlift till 2:30. So it's, hopefully the church will take us till 2. Then we'll do the receiving line. That should take 15 to, well, it should be 15 minutes to a half an hour. And then they're going to have the bar open at the bottom of the mountain, so if there is any lag time, that's where they'll be.
And that's in
The loft itself.
Okay.
And then at 2:30 on, they can start heading up.
I'm taking all of these copious
Yeah.
notes. Now, a couple of questions logistically. These people that are attending the ceremony will be driving from St. Patrick's to the to the ski
Yes,
area.
yes.
To get go up to top of the quad. That's a lot of vehicles that park, disembark, and walk, and it's a not a huge walk, but it's a walk.
Yeah.
To the lodge, and then there's a real time delay getting up to top of the quad.
Yeah.
It's a fairly long trip, I understand.
12 minutes.
I haven't done it. Does it take 12 minutes to return?
Yes, they slow it down. Normally it's a quicker trip during ski season, but they slow it down for the
And capacity?
of the place up there.
No, of the
Chairs,
chair.
4 per. It's a quad, so they can do 4 per chair.
It's not a total of 4 per trip.
Well, it's one after the other, so
Right.
depends how you
Okay.
look at it.
So the total capacity I have not very familiar with how they get them up there.
How they get them up there? Well, they probably do 3 to 4 per trip,
Right,
per chair.
right.
Just, you grab your couple, your date, whatever, hop on.
Hop on, okay. So that actually transport time is going to be fairly lengthy getting people to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, they'll be waiting basically in the lodge when the 2:30 mark comes along. They'll slowly filter it up to the top.
I'm seeing problems already, so that's why I'm
Okay.
asking
No,
you
no,
lots of
that's-
questions. When you arrive,
Yeah.
and if you're the last to depart the church, when you arrive, where are you going?
When
Are you going to take
we're
the
going
quad
to
up?
the Mount Washington Hotel to take some pictures, and
Okay, that was
what I'm hoping the receiving line should take us to the 2:30 mark, so people really won't be waiting in the bottom lodge
Right.
for any time. So hopefully it'll be, once they park their car, they get on the lift and go.
that should work.
That should work, because
Yeah.
the receiving line should take a little longer than I anticipate.
Yeah, and it staggers the departures, so it staggers arrival.
Yeah.
And that all works. And gets people to the top. Now ceremony begins on time, so you're
No?
it's we're talking 1:10 here probably for start.
Yeah.
And then 40 minutes usually for service and whatever instructions
Yeah.
post service, and then receiving line. So the 2:30 is a makeable time. What is your ETA at top of the quad?
We're supposed to get there from, I believe, quarter of. Yeah, I think we're actually getting on the lift at like. That seems like a strange.
You can't do that.
What's that?
2:45?
No, quarter of 4.
4.
Quarter of 4. Because the meal is served at 4 to 4:15. I'm not positive which it is. But we figured by the time we arrive, do the introductions, that should, and when everyone's seated, that's when the meal starts.
So you don't get cocktails.
We don't get the cocktails. Hopefully we'll get a couple.
And then from dinner at 4,
Yeah.
events that occur beyond that.
Let's see. Well, we've got all the dances. First dance, wedding party dance. What is it? Brother and bride, mother and son, mother and groom.
That whole routine. Now.
Yeah, we're doing
Give
all
the
that.
specifics of it. Other things that will occur during the reception and time frame for
okay.
to when.
We don't have an official plan. You know, once
Okay.
it starts, there's nothing
Nothing else.
unique compared to a traditional wedding.
Okay. There's nothing else happening. I mean, there's nothing restricting you to be out of the quad. You have it for the evening. Is
Yeah,
that-
we have it.
So you're there for sunset and cold swim. All right. And your departure will be obviously from there in the same way you arrived. And you're off and running from that point.
Exactly.
And the guests are on their own.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Tell me what kind of ambiance you want in the. Well, let's start in the church, and
The
then
church?
we'll move from there.
I'm confused as to
Tone maybe is a better
tone.
word.
I guess cheery.
Okay.
A cheery.
Do you
tone.
want your guests? I guess an easy way to say it is: do you want your guests to feel that they're arriving at a quaint time? So, the things people remember the most about a wedding are what the bride wore
Yeah.
and what she carried, and they usually are somewhat synonymous, carried in tones of flowers. An overall theme and/or tone to the whole event,
Yeah.
and food. Now, in that order.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, that location is almost always irrelevant, and I find that really funny.
Yeah.
So the tone of the wedding is almost always dictated in memory by what the flowers are.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah,
so that's why it's sort of a full circle
Yeah.
here, back so you
Coming
know
back.
where we're at. And the tone can be set in the church, and that can change, or it can be continued throughout.
Okay.
I see this as a somber but not boring
Yeah.
church ceremony. I think the emphasis should be on the words and deeds of the service
Yeah.
at the church. I think it's a minimalistic treatment. I see flowers carried by the bride and her attendants as having a little more upbeat, exciting approach. And not having seen the garments that they've chosen, I can't make specific recommendations about that. Availability of product is not an issue.
Oh, it's
We can do almost anything.
okay.
September is not a difficult time. I see weather as an element that has an impact on all of this, and something we have to keep in mind relevant to the whole event. If it's a bad day, if it's not fabulous weather, and you don't have a grand view, then it doesn't necessarily spoil a party.
No.
But we have to compensate for that.
Okay.
Also, the tone that we're going to set at the reception is for a party, have a good time.
Yeah.
But not to take away from the positive good weather that we're going to have.
Yes,
that's the whole
exactly.
thing. So that's where we're at, I hope.
Yeah.
Decisions made relevant to that are somewhat dictated by the garment is really a key issue.
Okay.
What Lisa and the girls wear is really important. Not so much what I do for Lisa is really designed specifically for her, and what she chooses does not necessarily have to reflect what anybody else does.
Yeah.
It can take on the somber tone of the ceremony in the church.
Oh, the
It can
upbeat,
take on
the
the
reception.
really upbeat other one. One or the other is a tease. I call it a tease, an introduction to what's to come.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes that's done by color, sometimes that's done by style, sometimes it's done by materials that are actually used. And any one of those factors can be combined, but there needs to be unity so that it does not look like this is a ceremony and then another event, not
okay,
interconnected.
I see what you're saying.
And that this bride doesn't belong in this church for this event.
Wrong one.
Or,
So you'd go
right
with,
church, wrong pew.
You'd go with the very similar scheme for the church, maybe just...
I think that the church should probably have a fairly traditional approach.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Because it is a pretty traditional church. It's a pretty church externally. I think internally it's a sort of an ugly church. That's my personal opinion. But that's fine because we're now shifting emphasis from the beauty of it all to the significance of the event. And it's on words and deeds. And then the bride arrives and the emphasis shifts to the couple and really sort of focuses. And beyond that, people would remember nothing within the church anyway. So you have to think about what actually transpires within that service. And Father Smith's not the easiest man in the world to work with, but
No.
you get it.
Sure.
Then we go to the really party part of it. Keep in mind a couple of things that are going to happen if you're doing a receiving line. These are little things that I mentioned. The bride doesn't want to be holding her bouquet during the receiving line because it will get destroyed, A, and B, she needs both hands to hug them, whatever. So arrangements for honor attendant to take care of that and whisk it off. Receiving lines are really for the couples and the parents, and in general, other people in the wedding party I would not include.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, they can serve as what's the word I want?
Direction givers?
Well, basically, alternative hosts until the family arrives at the reception. Your parent, I'm assuming your parents and her parents will certainly both be there, and therefore they are ultimately the hosts, and the wedding party can fill that capacity. Also, you're dealing with some rather unusual circumstances in getting people to the quad.
Yeah.
I see a bottleneck there. I really do see that as a potential bottleneck.
Okay.
And needing some good advice and direction, and I would assume that
Like half your face.
got my lower chin, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. Okay, questions you might have since I've run my mouth a while. And
For the actual reception hall,
Mhm.
what do you? Are we way off with the candles, or?
4 o'clock dinner, it puts it right on the borderline for doing candles. It's daylight. It will be dark later. I might, and again, I'm not familiar with
Yeah.
I've only been there once, and I really, in all honesty, was not very sold.
It happened.
I have to tell you the truth here.
Yeah, no. So you didn't
I was
know.
up there on a dare.
Oh, really?
The only reason I was there. We won't get into that whole story, but it was rather funny. One of the few frivolous things I've done in my older life. I love candles. I like votive lights, that sort of thing. I think the ambiance of that is wonderful, but they're ineffective and they also take away from the view. I think that we should consider them as an alternative, but not as a primary.
Okay.
They might be a wonderful enhancement at dusk,
It does.
but
Yeah,
not necessarily at 4 o'clock dinner.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I'm not sure that you want flickering candles. They reflect in glass. They take away from the whole ambiance that you want to have during daylight. Certainly for a coffee and cake service and later in the evening, votive candles are a wonderful tone setter.
Okay.
And the other element that I think about is you're there with wind and all the other elements that occur on the side of a mountain. If it's miserably rainy and awful out, then you want to warm the environment. If it's not, it's going to be warm and encompassing anyway.
Yeah.
So the building's going to do that. I love all those things. Don't
Yeah.
misinterpret that, but I think you need to think about those tones as well.
Okay. For the church, so you think something very, very simple, very
I would treat the
just
church
one
fairly
one for the-
traditionally.
one for the altar or two for the sides
I think
of the
I
altar?
would do 2 pieces probably.
2 pieces, and what about the pillars?
Um,
that type of look,
I'm not sure
or-
what you mean by pillars.
They're very similar to,
Pedestals.
yeah, the pedestal. I call them pillar because it looks just like a house pillar. Yeah, the pedestals. I've seen that done also.
I do pedestals all the time. There's not a lot of room in the sacristy of the church, and I am not sure that they work
Made for a bigger.
well in that perspective. I have done things in the church that sit on the rails because the rail is flat and do left and right. One of the problems I have with that is if you sit at the far right or the far left of the church in the front pews and your family, you miss visibility. I would rather deal with the high altar and somewhat restrict that. It also pulls a focus onto the religious aspect of the ceremony. When you start moving down into the congregation with floral
occupying
decorations,
space.
right, and you take away from where the emphasis should be.
Okay. No, that
Also, you have a pretty good-sized wedding party. We're talking about 9 people here,
Yes.
11 people, excuse me. And that's fairly space-consuming
Yeah.
as well.
So you're saying 2 pieces.
Pews
Where are they placed? On the sides of the altar?
on that big altar
Yeah.
thing that's in the back.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
And
It
then
pulls you to the back of the church. I hate that big altar thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't belong in
So
the
then just a couple of pews in.
Yeah, I think, I personally like 3. 1, 3, 5 works down. It gives
Okay.
you almost the full church look. And for visual and video, it's
And that's
adequate.
and that would be it. And then we
Right.
have the basket in the back. We already have, the rug. Now, do you-
Runner. We
Yeah,
do
the
the-
runner. The
rug.
rug.
Pull a rug
Now,
out
do you
from
do
under.
the runner?
Yes, we do the runner.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have the basket. I don't know if you wanted to do something with that.
Okay. And the basket serves what purpose?
That is for the for the church, for the listing, for the mental block.
For the programs?
The programs.
Okay.
Programs. Mental block.
I do that all the time. Call it a brain cramp. And then I just wrote programs.
Programs, that's it.
Now tell me, are you going to include in those programs a map?
Not, actually, with the invitations
Invitations.
is the,
Is the map
map.
to where?
to the Bretton Woods ski area. From the invitation to there. So we figured that would suffice for, that's an idea to, on the programs, to have it in the back, just to reiterate.
How many
Okay.
people remember their invitations?
Okay. No, that's-
I think it helps to fortify.
Okay.
And after you've driven 3 hours or whatever from wherever to get here, it's nice to have that re-emphasized and to know that you're not without, I mean, obviously people are going to be following people, but you're also, the intent is to stagger departure somewhat, and it will help alleviate any potential bottleneck, which always occurs because getting out of the church driveway onto 302, and then you have to stop for the light as well. And then parking and
walking.
I mean, there are all of these timed consuming events that occur before you get to the reception. So that's why I'm mentioning it to you.
No, that's a good call. Okay, so the church is,
I don't see all your
Relatively
getting to the top of the quad. I really don't see 170 people moved up there in an hour.
Yeah.
I see that as a very tight time frame.
yeah. We'll see. You figure,
I mean, it works. I just think
Yeah.
it's tight.
Yeah,
and-
I figure the people who are insecure or just aren't comfortable with going up there,
Right.
They're gonna bulk up.
Right.
They're gonna grab as many people, the 4 people on there. And if that's the case, which is probably true for the bulk of our crowd, when you look at it, that's only 25 chairs per 100.
Right.
So I think it'll move quicker than I anticipate anyway. From what they say they move them up there because you've got the 4 seaters,
Right.
and you get a chair every 10 seconds.
It does move. I know it moves pretty quickly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that it might move smoother than I anticipate and you do. Also,
Okay.
I'm hoping.
Now,
Okay.
one other question that occurs to me: inclement weather receiving line occurs where? Because there is not room in the
Yeah,
church
we
for that.
probably wouldn't do it.
Okay.
We'd probably give up on it. And get them to the reception hall, which
All right.
which ought to be nifty.
In the rain.
Yeah.
But have to
Yeah.
cover all those bases.
Yep.
All right. Okay. I think I have a feeling about this.
Yeah.
Let me just. I
No, the
did-
church that I can almost envision the church somewhat.
Yeah, we haven't talked about colors.
Yeah, no.
You know, the specifics and design styles and that sort of thing. Lisa and I can, chat about that on the phone, and she may
that's
have.
where she'll have the expertise.
Let me just ask again about, and I did body count once before, but I want to make sure there are 2 fathers normal. I don't mean that unkindly.
No,
but-
it's kind of a weird situation.
No, but they're not. I have more stepfathers and in-laws and so on.
There is. We're not sure that the parents are going. We're not sure where it's gonna be at that point. So she really doesn't get along with her folks.
Okay.
They are invited to the wedding, so like her brother's giving her away,
Okay.
and her brother's wife is the matron of honor. And so it's gonna be a weird. It's gonna be a strange, untypical
No,
situation.
it's not. Okay, so there are in fact 2 fathers, yours and his.
Yeah.
And whether they come or not
Yeah,
is questionable at this point.
exactly.
All right. So we're planning on the bride's brother who will give her away.
Yes.
Grandfathers,
No grandfathers.
neither side.
No.
And the bride's mother and
Bride's mother, my mother,
and your mother.
Awesome.
Grandmothers,
3 grandmothers.
whose?
2 of mine, 1 of hers.
Any other men
No.
in the wedding party? Groom, best man, 5 ushers, the bride's brother, 2 fathers, questionable, and no grandfathers.
Yes.
And the ladies, we have the bride's mom, the groom,
Possibly.
the groom's mom, 3 grandmothers, 2 who are yours, and 1 is hers.
Yes.
Any other ladies?
Just the bridesmaids. That's it.
Just the bridesmaids, right, which we'd already talked about. Maid of honor and 4 bridesmaids.
There's actually, she has it set up so there's a maid of honor and a matron of honor.
Oh, okay. And then 4 bridesmaids.
Yes. So I think that's new since we filled it.
Now, tell me a little bit about ages of the, and you don't have to be too specific,
Yeah.
but the bridesmaids are not
They're
teeny
from,
boppers.
no, they're from
young
20,
adults.
27 to 27 to 30 range. Yep, and same for the
Okay. And the guys?
Yeah,
Same
same
time frame, okay. I ask that because I approach what I call teeny bopper weddings
Yeah.
much differently
Yeah.
than I do, you know,
yeah, no, that makes
professional,
sense.
adult people, quite different. Obviously, I knew they weren't teeny boppers,
Yeah.
but I do have to
You gotta
ask.
ask.
Because I've been shocked more than once. I did a wedding this spring in which bride was 35, 37, and all of the bridesmaids were young high school kids.
Oh, really?
And I thought it was so odd, and I was very shocked by it. And so, long conversation later, but she had no sisters and no really close friends because she'd been out of college quite some time, and everybody was kind of preoccupied. And she was a teacher, and these were students.
Oh, really?
And I thought it was a really great
That's a
approach,
great-
but it was a very unusual approach.
Yeah.
And so I learned to ask.
Yeah. Yep, makes sense.
They were all high school seniors, actually. But I thought it was kind of neat, really.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
lots
a
of
great
fun.
situation.
So,
Here's your grade for the year, and
yeah.
could you be in my wedding?
Actually, it was before closing of market.
Oh, really? Wow.
I would not. I wouldn't take on, that kind of responsibility because they were from Attleboro already. So,
Wow.
4 children. In essence, children.
Yeah.
Everett,
Yes.
how you doing?
Good.
Safe to come in, or are you doing business here?
I'm doing business, but you can come in anytime. I think I have covered basically all of the necessities of what we need,
We need.
at the moment.
And then once you talk to Lisa,
I'll talk to Lisa about specifics about flowers. If she has particular floral interests or flower interests, we can work around that. I'm most concerned with looking at the dress. It can be a photograph, it can be a
Okay, we'll
torn out
Polaroid.
page, I don't care, whatever. And
we'll also
fabric
need
slots.
something for the just while I'm thinking for the cake.
Oh, okay. We'll make that.
We'll need flowers for the
Who's
cake.
making the cake?
Jackie in Brettonwoods.
And the crew at the quad is catering.
Yes.
I'm assuming. And any idea a number of tables, just rough? Do they seat 8 or?
Eight per table. 8 goes into right 8, so probably 20 tables. 20 plus tables.
And ultimately, budget for this wedding, I have failed to ask.
Yeah, we're probably looking from the 600 to 1,000 range. I don't know if that's reasonable or.
Idiots, I just have to know where we're running. I think it's very reasonable. I don't see this as an elaborately floral event,
No, I don't
requiring
think we did.
expensive flowers and exotic things. I see this.
Sculptures and-
Yeah, right. I see this as a fun party that has class, but not overwhelming
Yeah.
in any.
Okay.
That's how I look at it.
The head table is just us two up there. Just to make it know.
Table of 2. Okay. Are you mixing your wedding party into the other tables?
Yes, because most of them have dates
Yeah.
that aren't in the wedding party, so figured get them out.
Yeah, and they're more comfortable that way.
No,
And it
I
helps
never
for a
liked
good
head-
mix and
head
socializing.
tables. You stiff up there, and it's a pain to eat.
Yeah, it is.
really
It is. It's like, yeah, that's exactly right. Any other questions?
No, I think that's about it. Yeah, I can have Lisa call you, or what's the best way of... She just has a tough time.
Yeah, I'm sure. She can call me at her convenience. If I know that she's going to call me at a specific time, I will certainly make it a point to be here. My schedule is sort of crazy, but
That's all right.
it doesn't bother me as long as I know she's coming. She can wander in, and I think I told you this on the
Yeah.
phone in the flower shop. There's a gray book which is at the hotel at the moment,
Okay.
which is a tell for a wedding guide, and it works. And that's the one thing I think we both want to
The gray
sort of
one?
wander through. Yeah.
Okay. And they have things that you would possibly...
Yeah, and she can make some notes, and it works. I've talked to a lot of brides who said, I saw something in TW6
Yeah.
that I sort of liked, but I didn't like
But
the
I didn't
colors.
like this part.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I did like something in
Especially for her
TW99.
bouquet and all
Yeah,
that. You can-
exactly. And even if we never actually get to meet face to face,
You'll have a good
I'll
good
have
idea.
a good idea of what she wants. We can certainly do photographs and/or pictures of the dresses, that sort of thing, are really important for me to see at some point before we can make an actual decision.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay?
Very good, Everett. I
Does
appreciate
that
your
give you
time.
better insight into what we have to do and
Yes.
where we're going?
Yeah, no, you gave me a couple of good points of things I should take care of now about directing people and the programs and everything.
And you can just do it, quite frankly, a Xerox. Of
Oh,
your,
yeah. Whatever she had on the
invite.
end.
Yeah.
Say it was a good thing.
That's, and put it on the back of the invitation. The
Or
program.
insert it.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
mean, it can
true.
be done as an insert, too.
Okay, great.